So the Google Pixel is actually approaching its third birthday this year, and I thought with the Pixel 4 on the horizon, I'd actually take a look back on the first one and reflect on what made it so great. So not to waste any more time, as usual, buying links will be down in the description. I'm Sam, you're watching MS Tech, and this is the Pixel's verdict 3 years later. So design-wise, you'll be getting the split glass and metal design, which has divided opinions for a while, but I personally dig it, especially in this blue, and there's obviously still a black and white option as well. The main body of the phone ticks off pretty much all your flagship materials, so we're talking an aluminium frame with Gorilla Glass 5 over the front. I don't actually know what glass is used on the back, but I think it's also Gorilla Glass, and then of course you've got all the aggressive chamfers and curves as you move your way down the phone. There's actually a slight wedge shape to the phone that most people don't actually notice when they use the Pixel, but it's there. I mean, it means the headphone jack's up at the top, and it also hides the camera bump quite stylishly in my opinion. Although what I was surprised to see was that the flash actually sticks out of the glass, which kind of kills Google's whole ambition to make the back of the phone seamless, which, you know, considering the phone's already a pretty chunky 8mm thick, isn't really gonna blend in that well. As far as the glass portion, you just get a recessed fingerprint reader. Obviously you get NFC as well. The fingerprint reader is really good actually. By my usage I'd give it like an A+, A++ if that even exists, but yeah, it's just very good by consistency and speed. Recognises my finger pretty much every time. And no, sadly no wireless charging. The speaker at the bottom is also pretty dull and pretty easy to block because it's on the left. Obviously the opening on the right is also pretty much a dud, which sucks. But yeah, I actually have to use a case on this thing pretty much all the time when I'm watching YouTube videos, because obviously you just end up blocking the speaker all the time. So, the Pixel, build-wise, ticks pretty much all the boxes, I'd say. Material-wise, ticks all the boxes, and design-wise, although it's not going to be turning any heads anytime soon, it is still undoubtedly one of the very best industrial designs of 2016. Considering this is built by HTC as well, you're obviously going to be pretty peace of mind that you're going to be getting a pretty solidly built phone, so definitely a thumbs up on that front. So as far as the display goes, the regular Pixel actually offers you a 5-inch Full HD OLED display, with the XL sporting a 5.5-inch Quad HD OLED display. The form factor of the smaller Pixel is probably what I would pick over the larger one, and it's probably what most people will lean towards, even if those bezels are pretty big. I mean, they're actually bigger than some tablets that I've reviewed and stuff, which is a bit crazy. But yeah, otherwise the display is fine. It's vibrant, it's comfortable to view, it's plenty sharp, and aside to slight off-axis color shift sometimes, pretty good for outdoor usage too. I mean, it gets decently bright as well, so colors tend to lean a little on the warm side, but overall I'd put this display easily ahead of something like the LCD on the iPhone 7. In terms of actual internals, it's pretty simple. You just get the Snapdragon 821, 4GB of RAM and 32 or 128GB of UFS 2.0 storage straight out of the box. The experience factor is still quick and bloat free, especially with the like stock skin, and the app drawer upon setup I found is practically empty with few inbuilt files and apps, and the Android Pie update also means that you'll still get day one feeling experience out of the box, running pretty much as clean a UI as most late 2016 Android flagships will get. Performance is still fantastic as always. Seemingly Android Pie has actually allowed for even higher scores in most benchmarks, and the optimizations as far as gaming goes are still great. The Adreno 530 GPU is somewhat dated by today's standards, but still pushes consistently upwards of like 160,000 on Antutu benchmark, and you can run, you know, heavy 3D titles on pretty much max settings, and the Pixel still held out pretty much well on all of them, so not to mention the reachable screen factor actually makes this a really good one-handed phone, especially for playing games. I did also forget to mention that there will be an Android Q update for the Pixel and the Pixel XL, but you can still trial it like I have, so if you've already noticed some of these clips, the UI is actually the Android Q Beta 6, with some minor improvements, but I'll make sure to cover that in a later video. The battery is surely, for me anyways, the worst part of this phone. Hear me out, because when you're paying this sort of money for a flagship from about 2 years ago, and you click on a 2-3 year review, you've got to know what you're getting into. By my usage, the battery readings on my Pixel after the Android Pie update were just entirely wrong, and I wasn't actually ending the day with any battery left at all, and I would get maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours on a stretch just screen on time, let alone with pretty non-intensive usage. That being said, if you run this thing on dark mode and turn off pretty much all the quick toggles, you shouldn't suffer too much, but then again, you've got to account for this being a pretty worn down battery in a pre-owned device. So that leads us pretty nicely to the best part of the phone in my opinion, the camera. So the Pixel sports a 12.3 megapixel f2.0 camera on the back, and the selfie camera is also great with an 8 megapixel resolution and an aperture of f2.4. And yes, pictures of the front do feature the same HDR plus as the rear with the same detail and the same pop, and just the same overall good image quality. There's actually no OIS, but you do get EIS and video stabilization from the balance of the camera based on measurements from the internal gyroscope, which is all in all pretty cool stuff. Photos are especially key to this phone, and they're just so plain good it's hard even comparing these side by side with something like the Galaxy S7 or the HTC 10, which were released about the same time and have most of the same specs. Google's image processing, as most people talk about, is fantastic, and the images off this thing are balanced, no exception. They're well exposed, dynamic range packs a punch in pretty much all the scenarios I've taken photos in, and right off the bat, the video quality, I found it was a bit soft for my liking, but it still does a good job overall. It's just lacks a little bit of detail, and some of the quality of it isn't as good as just like the photos are definitely the better shining point of this phone's camera. The best feature I can finally talk about on the Pixel is Night Sight, which completely changes the images. I know it hasn't been around since Android 7, but now it's on Android Pie. Google obviously has released it, and the Pixel's Night Sight is pretty much second to none in terms of just quality and overall image, just image processing in general when up against the likes of Huawei's and Samsung's Night Sights, and just in terms of purely enhancing the image. For example, it turns images like this into ones like these. Then there's lens blur, which has, I know, been around for a while now, but has improved as the new Android versions have perfected it, and the results you can get today from a fairly challenging scene are frankly terrific. So, the Pixel. All in all, the reason you're all probably watching this is whether you should still buy a 2-gen old Pixel in 2019. And cut down to the key basics, the Pixel may not nail all of them, but at prices of near £90 here in the UK, and this is a really compelling option indeed. The camera, the design, although it lacks some flair compared to other phones, the display and the internals, they're all still really damn solid, and they can give, budget phones of this year a run for their money. So yeah, I'm Sam, you've been watching MS Tech, and don't forget to drop a like and subscribe as these would mean such a lot. And anyway, thank you guys for watching, I'll see you in the next one, tschüss.